Americans All, Immigrants All, by the United States Department of the Interior, Office of Education. Section 6. Pulling Together the American Way. America is made up of the cultural strains of many countries. The mere knowledge of this matchless wealth is an inspiration to anyone who knows it. Allen H. Eaton. Nature has blessed this country with great natural wealth, but immigration has brought us even greater riches in the form of human resources. Andrew Carnegie, himself an immigrant, was well aware of this when he said, "Take away my factories, my railroads, my ships. Take away my money, strip me of all these things, but leave me my men, and in 2 or 3 years I will have everything back again." Priceless Gifts. Transforming her immigrants as they have come, the United States has, in turn, been enriched and transformed by them. The immigrant has played an important part in our cultural as well as in our economic life. One immigrant, Franklin K. Lane, who became Secretary of the Interior, wrote feelingly of the contributions which the immigrant has made to American life. Their music, dirge and dance and wassail song, proud march and religious chant, and their instruments for the making of music. Their poetry, winged tales of man's many passions, folk songs and psalm, ballads of heroes and tunes of the sea, lilting scraps caught from the sky and field, or mighty dramas that tell of primal struggles of the profoundest meaning. Their art, fancies of the mind, woven in wood or wool, silk, stone, or metal, rugs and baskets, gates of fine design and modelled gardens, houses and walls, pillars, roofs, windows, statues and painting, their art and handcraft. Home-like familiar things, a favourite tree or fruit, an accustomed flower, a style in cookery or in costume, hands with which to work, minds that could conceive, hearts filled with home, stout hearts to drive live minds to direct willing hands. Irish song and wit, German thrift and industry, Scottish virility and genius, English love of law and order, Scandinavian honesty and love of home, Negro fervour in song and story, Mexican enjoyment of life, Indian customs and traditions, Slavic dance and folk song, neatness and thoroughness of the Netherlanders, Italian love for art and music, and philosophic tendencies of the Oriental for the beautiful are but a few of the strands that may be found woven into our national pattern. The art of living together. Barriers that once existed between racial and national groups in this country are fast disappearing. Cooperative effort and healthy respect are taking their place. We are learning to understand other peoples, to understand ourselves. The newcomers brought with them an ardent desire to improve their conditions. They quickly availed themselves of the opportunity which the public school offered them. The school took the child of the exiled of Hungary, of the half-starved emigrant from the Emerald Isle, and of the hardy Norwegian, and placed them on the same bench with the offspring of those whose ancestors' bones bleached upon the fields of Lexington. The library, the church, the motion picture, and radio are also powerful educational agencies in molding the pattern of the new American. Milestones of progress. The immigrant has always been a firm devotee of the ideals of democracy, for in most cases he has suffered religious, political, military, or other oppression. Even in the United States, democracy did not begin full tilt, but just as the frontier has been conquered, so too the areas of human rights and freedoms have been extended. The abolition of slavery, universal suffrage, the grant of full rights of citizenship to women, labor legislation, and property rights have all been milestones in the onward march of democracy. The immigrant has not been unmindful of the blessings conferred upon him in this country. He has adjusted himself quickly to his new environment, In every crisis he has faithfully stood by our country and institutions. He has striven to teach his children to love and honor the land which harbors them. All human history teaches us that the price of human liberty is the continuous enlargement of that liberty. The only safe principle of democracy is justice, equity, and equal respect among all our people. Great unfinished tasks remain for us to solve. Our common loyalty must hold high the torch and pass it on, with fire unquenched, to the citizen of tomorrow. Section 7. Are people really different? Democracy means not, I'm as good as you are, but you're as good as I am. Theodore Parker. Immigration has made the United States the most composite nation on earth. More peoples of widely different national and racial origins have been brought together and welded into a single political, economic, and social system than anywhere else in the world. What constitutes a race? Does each race have certain hereditary characteristics which determine its mental life and social behavior? Is there a racial stock which is superior, physically, mentally, and morally, to other racial stocks? Just what differences, if any, exist between those who were born here and those who have adopted this country as their homeland? There is no such person as a Native American, nor was there ever such a person if we are to be strictly accurate. We are told that even the American Indian is an immigrant who came from far-off Asia by way of the Bering Straits and Alaska. Our ancestors may have come on the Mayflower or in the steerage. We may be descended from immigrants who settled here generations ago, or we may have come directly from other lands. Yet one fact remains crystal clear. We are all immigrants. Physical characteristics. From the physical standpoint, races do have certain very definite differences that are obvious. One of the most obvious is that of color. White, black, yellow, red, brown, and yellow-brown are the colors we usually associate with certain racial types. Some of us are tall, blond, and blue-eyed. Others are short, dark, and brown-eyed. Some people have long, narrow heads, while others have short, round heads. However, the same physical differences may be found not only between racial and national peoples, but also between individuals within the nation, tribe, or family. Mental characteristics. In answer to the contention that certain racial groups are mentally superior to others, Franz Boas, an outstanding scientist, says, "No one has ever proved that a human being, through his descent from a group of people, must of necessity have certain mental characteristics. If we were to select the most intelligent, imaginative, energetic, and emotionally stable third of mankind, all races would be represented." Houghton, another scientist, is even more emphatic. He declares that each racial type runs the gamut from idiots and criminals to geniuses and statesmen. No type produces a majority of individuals from either end of the scale. There are no racial monopolies of either human virtues or vices. Carefully controlled intelligence tests given by educators and scientists to different racial groups show that, where environment and social conditions are the same, no group can claim mental superiority. In fact, it has been clearly apparent that man everywhere is basically and fundamentally similar, and that his differences, be they physical, mental, or moral, are determined not by race so much as by the social conditions and opportunities around him. Important findings. The assimilation of different groups within the United States would seem to show that 1. Under favorable conditions of equal opportunity, all racial groups, whatever their original homeland conditions and status, are capable of rapid social change both as individuals and as groups. It can be easily shown, says one scientist, how dependent mental differences are upon social conditions. For instance, exact observations have been made on Negroes who have moved from the country to the city, and it has been shown that assimilation of these people to the behavior of the city population takes place within a few years. Likewise, it has been shown in the case of Italian immigrants that they grow to resemble the Americans in behavior the longer they have been in this country, provided they do not remain isolated. One of the most instructive illustrations of this assimilation is the ease with which children adopt the dialect and manner of expression of their environment. Number 2. All groups, under the stimulus of opportunity and contact, have capacity to produce exceptional individuals of high creative ability or genius, and thus help build up and perfect human culture. The Nordic and Slav, the Southern European and Jew, black, white, brown, and yellow have all produced men and women of outstanding brains and genius. To confirm these statements, it is only necessary to read, in the pages that follow, the contributions of the immigrant and his descendants to American life. Research studies, conducted on an objective basis, prove that individual brilliance may be and is found in all groups. Number 3. Under the influence of a common environment, physical and cultural, the offspring of different racial and national groups in a democracy tend toward a common culture with common customs and ideals. John Dewey has emphasized that, in a democratic society, individuals give freely to others of the peculiar value, essence, quality, and contribution of the group to which they belong, and receive freely the corresponding treasures of other groups, and this without violence to the complete uniqueness of the group. At birth, no individual has any culture, and so the culture he eventually acquires is the one he finds around him and is capable of assimilating. However, new conditions bring the need of new ideals and new emphasis on certain aspect of old ideals. Civilization itself is not only safeguarded, but advanced when a nation, composed of many races, finds it possible for each racial group to function creatively in building the culture of the race into the whole culture pattern. Number 4. Within the framework of common political and economic institutions, a variety of cultural elements makes for a richer and more active social culture. In all history, some of the most advanced civilizations have been the product of a mixture of cultures. No great nations or civilizations have been born in isolation. Inbreeding inevitably results in one-sidedness and eventually in stagnation and decadence. Spain was at its greatest when the mixture of peoples was at its height. England grew great because the ingredients of many racial groups ran in the Englishman's blood. The United States will continue to be great because the intermingling of many groups tends to build a culture or civilization that unifies the best of their contributions. Number 5. A civilization of many different elements develops religious, social, and cultural tolerance. It also creates ability which may permit it to grow and change. Section 8. Immigration from 1820 to 1936. Now a note from the narrator to you. This section is entirely data of how many people came from different countries. So if that will be too tedious for you, I encourage you to skip this section. Proceeding. Albania, 2,846. Austria and Hungary, 4,138,333. From Belgium, 155,024. Bulgaria, 65,424. Czechoslovakia, 110,928. Denmark, 333,900. Estonia, 1,839. Finland, 18,310. France, 588,023. Germany, 5,938,822. Great Britain broken down by area: England 2,629,335, Scotland 732,587, Wales 86,233, not specified 793,741. Now proceeding with other countries: Greece 427,006, Ireland 4,588,464, Italy 4,692,447, Latvia 3,918, Lithuania 7,166, Luxembourg 854, Netherlands 249,059, Norway and Sweden 2,018,640, Poland 407,366, Portugal 254,499, Romania 155,496, Russia 3,343,088, Spain 168,913, Switzerland 292,153, Turkey in Europe 155,568, Yugoslavia 53,394, other parts of Europe 21,309, for a total from Europe of 32,434,685. China 379,982, India 9,704, Japan 277,162, Turkey in Asia 205,317, other areas of Asia 38,858, for Asia complete total of 911,023. Canada and Newfoundland 2,957,422. Mexico 768,453. Central America 46,919. West Indies 438,633. South America 117,649. Other parts of America 40. America total 4,329,116. Africa 25,311. Australia and New Zealand 53,739. Pacific Islands 10,610. Not specified 254,066. Total from all countries 38,018,550. From 1931 to 1938, departures have exceeded admissions by 203,694. Section 9. Our gifts to science and to agriculture. The brawn, brain, and inventive genius of the immigrants and their descendants have made the United States a world leader in science and industry. In reading about this pageant of achievement, which is unique in human history, you will also learn something about the diverse racial origins of those who laid the gifts on the altar of America. Here they are, immigrants, sons of immigrants, and sons of immigrants. Men and women who have thrilled the worlds of science and industry, the arts and crafts, and social progress and government. The italics indicate the racial origin of each individual or a major racial group from which he is descended, although it should be kept in mind that a person's ancestors frequently include many racial strains. The achievements listed are suggestive rather than exhaustive. Medicine. Use of cocaine as local anesthetic first introduced by Karl Kohler, German Jew. Ether first demonstrated to the world in surgical operation by William Morton, a Scot. First successful operation on human heart performed by Daniel H. Williams, Negro. Schick diphtheria test developed by Dr. Bela Schick, Hungarian Jew. Pioneer work in antiseptics by Henry Banga, Swiss, and many lives saved during World War through contributions to aseptic surgery of Alexis Carrel, French. Preventive compound for cholera and typhoid fever discovered by F. G. Novi, Slovak. Apparatus for electric blood transfusion perfected by D. J. Calicchio, Italian. Charles and William Mayo, Irish, have made surgery almost as reliable a science as bookkeeping. Charles McBurney, Scotch-Irish, discovered McBurney's point as a sign for the necessity of operating for appendicitis. Discovery that the disease pellagra was due to faulty diet made by Joseph Goldberger, German Jew. Typhus and typhoid fever distinguished by Alfred Stille, Swede. Human blood classified in different types by Karl Landsteiner, Austrian Jew. Research work in combating syphilis and yellow fever by Hideo Noguchi, Japanese. Expert on infantile paralysis and meningitis is Simon Flexner, German Jew. First removal of human ovary by Ephraim McDowell, Scot. One of the famous authorities on plastic surgery is V. Kanzanjian, Armenian. World authority on venereal disease is Veki Victor, a Yugoslav. Edward Trudeau, French, began sanatorium treatment for tuberculosis. Clifford Beers, English Netherlander, founder of mental hygiene movement. Discovery that mosquitoes carried yellow fever made by Walter Reed, English. Malaria driven out of Panama by General William C. Gorgas, Scotch-Irish Netherlander. First hospital in colonies founded by Dr. Thomas Bond, Welsh. Physics. Our greatest electrical wizards have been Joseph Henry, Scotch-Irish, who helped to invent the telegraph; Charles Steinmetz, German-Polish, mathematical genius and electrical scientist, who had one of the world's most inventive minds; Thomas Edison, Scot-Netherlander, who invented electric light bulb and phonograph; Michael Pupin, Yugoslav, who perfected tuning-in mechanism of radio; Nikola Tesla, Yugoslav, who made extensive use of electrical power possible; Vladimir Karapetov, Armenian, inventor of electrical devices. Most distinguished physicist on light rays is Albert A. Michelson, German Jew. On X-rays, Arthur H. Compton, English. On cosmic rays, Robert Millikan, Scotch-Irish. Outstanding investigator of Roentgen ray is Miran Kasabian, Armenian. Through work on electrotechnics, expansion of telephonic and telegraphic communication made possible by E. F. W. Alexanderson, Swede. John Crucy, Swiss, helped Edison develop electric incandescent lamp, dynamo, and phonograph. Astronomy. First observatory put up by Ephraim Williams, Welsh. Many of our early-day almanacs based on astronomical studies and computations of David Rittenhouse, German-Welsh. Lick Observatory, California, and Yerkes Observatory, Wisconsin, founded by James Lick and Charles Yerkes, Germans. For pictures of many of the stars, Dorothy Klumpke, German, achieved much fame. Famous mathematician and everyday almanac maker was Benjamin Banneker, Negro, who also helped L'Enfant, French, to lay out Washington, D.C. Chemistry. Ephedrine, drug used as base for cold remedies, discovered by K.K. Chen, Chinese. Adrenaline and diastase, discovered by Jokichi Takamine, Japanese. Grape sugar changed into tartaric acid by Musheg Vegoni, Armenian. George Washington Carver, Negro, made 145 products from peanut, 100 products from sweet potato, and 60 products from the pecan. Fermented milk product of high curative values discovered by H.M. Dadurian, Armenian. Exploration. A pilot on one of Columbus's ships was Pedro Alonso, Negro. First explorers in New Mexico led by Estevanico, Moroccan. First settlers of Alabama, who accompanied De Soto in 1540, were Robles, Negro, and Ferriata, Greek. First reliable map of Virginia and Maryland made by Augustine Hermann, Czech. Lewis, Welsh, and Clark, English, led the famous expedition to the Northwest. 1903 Ziegler expedition to the North Pole led by Anthony Fiala, Czech. North Pole discovered by Robert Peary, French-English, accompanied by Matthew Henson, Negro. First to fly across South Pole was Richard Byrd, English. Other sciences. First of American geologists was William McClure, Scott. The great naturalist John J. Audubon, French-Spanish, taught us about birds of America. Many inspired to study natural sciences by Louis Agassiz, French. Henry D. Thoreau, Huguenot, was great naturalist and writer. Famous anthropologists are Franz Boas and Edward Sapir, German Jews, and Alice Rydlicka, Czech. International authority on zoology and botany is Leonhard Steiniger, Norwegian. Expert on function of cell and fertilization is Ernest Just, Negro. First botanical garden in world founded near Philadelphia by John Bartram, Welsh, early in 18th century. Public garden, established in Georgia by General Oglethorpe, English, served as our first agricultural experiment station. Scientific breeding of plants demonstrated by Luther Burbank, English, French, Netherlander, Scott. Philosophers. Famous philosophers: William James, Welsh-English; John Dewey, Irish; Santayana, Spaniard; Jiddu Krishnamurti, Hindu. Agriculture. First vineyard in our country was set out by Jean-Jacques Dufour, Swiss. Oranges, olives, dates, and grapes were brought to California by Fray Junipero Serra, Spaniard. Fig cuttings were imported by Nedetovich of Fresno, Yugoslav. Wild strawberry developed into large table variety by Johann Schwerdkopf, German, who came to Long Island before Revolutionary War. Alfalfa seed, known as lucerne, brought to Minnesota and developed by Wendelin Grimm, German, in 1858. Hardy alfalfa for prairies of Northwest, brought from Siberia and Turkestan by Niels Hansen, Dane. Mower and reaper invented by Cyrus McCormick, Scotch-Irish. Simple tests to determine whether soil needs nitrogen, phosphates, or potash, devised by George Hofer, German. Pasteurization introduced by Julius Moldenhauer, Dane. Orange that will stay on tree for months after ripening, propagated by Lu Gim Gong, Chinese. Honey industry revolutionized by Frank Jaeger, Yugoslav. Early cooperative creamery at Clark's Grove, Minnesota, organized under leadership of Hans Jensen, Dane. First to find Trichina spiralis in hogs and hookworm in cats was Joseph Leidy, German. International Institute of Agriculture, established by David Lubin, Polish Jew. Section 10. Our gifts to industry and commerce. Inventions. First clock in America constructed to strike the hours, built by Benjamin Banneker, Negro, in 1790. Early flour milling machinery by Oliver Evans, Welsh. Iron comb, made by a Negro to help cotton pickers, gave Eli Whitney, English, idea for his cotton gin. Screw propeller and revolving turret on battleship, invented by John Ericsson, Swede. First patent to a Negro granted to Henry Blair for corn harvester in 1834. Comb making machinery built by Nathaniel Jones, Welsh. First zipper fastener invented by Gideon Sundbake, Swede. Green coloring matter used in our paper dollar invented by Dr. Seropian, Armenian. Machine for lasting shoes built by Jan Matzeliger, Haitian, in 1852. Self-starter automobile clutch invented by Victor Bendix, Swede. Also developed four-wheel brakes and carburetor. Steam boiler furnace, electrical air brakes, and incubator invented by Granville T. Woods, Negro. Inventor of carborundum was E.G. Acheson, English. Sewing machine invented by Elias Howe, English, in 1846. Lubricating cup used on locomotives and marine engines invented by Elijah J. McCoy, Negro. Discovery of artificial rubber by Father Newland of Notre Dame, Belgian, broke the British hold on rubber. Induction motors invented by Nikola Tesla, Yugoslav. Co-discoverer of process for making luminous paints was John Soshaki, Ukrainian. Fireproof stairs and library book stacks invented by Niels Poulsen, Dane. Stilson wrench invented by Daniel Stilson, Swede, in 1875. Bakelite, a substitute used for ivory and bone in making toilet articles, invented by Leo Baekeland, German. He discovered Velox, a paper used by photographers, and made several other discoveries through experimenting with the electrolytic cell. One of our earliest elevators was built by Dr. Niels Collins, Swede, a Philadelphia pastor. The condenser used in radios and electric motors is the result of work done by Alexander Georgiev, Bulgarian. Numerous inventions of a wide and varied nature in connection with steam turbines were developed by Oskar Ljunggren and by Carl Soderberg, Swedes. Huge machines used for knitting are the invention of Ladislaus Robachinsky, Armenian. Outstanding typewriter designer is Carl Gabrielson, Swede. Air brake invented by George Westinghouse, English Netherlander. Scientific divining rod used in electromagnetic method of locating metal ore, petroleum, and other minerals, devised by Hans Lundberg and Carl Sundberg, Swedes. In inventing telephone transmitter and motion picture projector, Edison, Scott, Netherlander, helped by Emil Berliner, German Jew. Accuracy gauges from which precision machinery is made, invented by Carl Johansson, Swede. Process for making artificial stone, invented by Michael Timofeyev, Ukrainian. Pioneer in radio work and sound motion pictures was Lee de Forest, French-English. Transportation. First steamboat built and taken down Ohio and Mississippi by Nicholas Roosevelt, Netherlander. First elevated railroad in New York City was built by José Francisco de Navarro, a Spaniard, in 1878. First demonstration of steam railroad in practice by John Stevens, English, in 1825. The Clermont, our first commercially successful steamboat, built by Robert Fulton, Irish. Greatest of clipper ships, Rainbow and Sea Witch, built by John Griffith, Welsh. Wagons and automobiles produced by Studebaker Brothers, German. Inventor of modern suspension bridge was John Roebling, German, who built beautiful Brooklyn Bridge. The Niagara Cantilever Bridge for heavy railroad traffic, invented by Charles Schneider, German. The Northwest opened up by railroad builder James J. Hill, Scotch-Irish. Transatlantic flyer Charles Lindbergh and airship commander Charles Rosendahl, Swedes. Manufacturing. Window glass manufactured by Caspar Wistar, German, in 1739. Decorative stoves and glass of highly prized nature manufactured in 18th century by Heinrich Stiegel, German. The New England cotton mills established by Samuel Slater, English. First to unite all processes for manufacturing finished cloth in one factory was Patrick Jackson, Irish. Art of making gunpowder perfected by Éleuthère du Pont, French. Great Steel Works of Pittsburgh founded by Andrew Carnegie, Scot, assisted by William Jones, Welsh. Iron and Steel Industries of Pueblo, Colorado, established by Daniel Jones, Welsh. Famous pioneer organ builder Matthias Müller, a Dane. Pianos and other instruments by Steinway, Neba, Weber, Wurlitzer, Gemunder, Germans. Steel manufactured by Charles Schwab, German. Sugar produced by Havemeyer, German. Food products by Heinz and Fleischmann, Germans. World-noted symbols made by Zildigian, Armenian. Airplane builders are Igor Sigorsky, Russian, Belanca, Italian, Douglas, Scot, Boeing, German, and Curtiss, English-German. Communication. The telephone was invented by Alexander Graham Bell, Scot. The telegraph was invention of Joseph Henry and Samuel Morse, Scotch-Irish. Steam cylinder printing press, making possible our great daily newspapers, was brainchild of Robert Hoe, English. Erie Canal built by DeWitt Clinton, Irish Netherlander. Long-distance telephone and wireless telegraphy made possible by Michael Pupin, Yugoslav. Inventor of wireless switch was Fritz Lowenstein, German Jew. New device for transmitting radio photographs by Arthur Korn, German Jew. Loudspeaker invented by Peter Jensen, Dane. Sworkin, Russian, pioneered in television. First printing press imported to California by Agustin Zamorana, Spaniard. Commerce. One of the largest cotton gins owned by Scott Bond, Negro. Our leading industrialists include Astor, Vanderbilt, and Rockefeller, Germans, Julius Rosenwald, Chicago mail-order executive, German Jew, Alfred Knudsen, Dane, automobile manufacturing executive. Leading rug merchants are Karagusian, Gulbenkian, Kalekian, and Pushman, Armenians. Leading linen and lace merchants are Maluk Kassab, Bardwill, Jabara, Mamre, and Boutros, Syrians. Largest raiser of orchids and specialist in cacti is J. A. Manda, Yugoslav. First American circus opened in Baraboo, Wisconsin in 1854 by Ringling Brothers, German. Virginia tobacco trade founded by Augustine Hermann, Czech. Gas first introduced in 1830 by Edward Jones, Welsh, in Boston. Mining. First oil well drilled at Titusville, Pennsylvania by Edwin Drake, English, in 1859. In Texas, oil was first struck by Anthony F. Lucas, Yugoslav. Coal in Pennsylvania first discovered by William Jones, Welsh. Pioneer miner of Colorado was Vaso Chekovic, Yugoslav. First California gold found on ranch of John Sutter, German-Swiss. Eminent mining industrialists include Simon and Daniel Guggenheim, Swiss Jews, and Adolf Lewinsohn, German Jew. Banking. Leading bankers include J. Pierpont Morgan, Welsh; Nathan Strauss, Felix Warburg, Jacob Schiff, Otto Kahn, and James Speyer, German Jews; Charles G. Dawes, English; Amadeo Giannini, Italian; and Jesse Jones, Welsh. Building. First American iron sea-going steamship built in 1859 by José Francisco de Navarro, Spaniard, who also laid foundation of cement business in this country. Panama Canal built by General Goethals, Netherlander. George Washington Bridge built by Othmar Ammann, Swiss. Manhattan Bridge in New York and Interstate Bridge connecting Philadelphia and Camden built by Leon Moisseiff, Russian. Hetch Hetchy water system from Sierra Nevada to San Francisco built by Michael O'Shaughnessy, Irish. Ralph Modjeski, Polish Jew, Chairman, Board of Engineers, San Francisco-Oakland Bridge. Peter Demyanov, Russian, railroad builder. Section 11. Our gifts to the arts and crafts. Literature. Outstanding novelists have been James Fenimore Cooper, English-Swedish; Oliver W. Holmes, English-Netherlander; Mark Twain, English; William Dean Howells, Welsh-Irish-English-German; Mary Wilkins Freeman, English; Nathaniel Hawthorne, Irish; Theodore Dreiser, German; James W. Johnson, Negro; Frank Norris, English; Booth Tarkington, English; Fanny Hurst, Edna Ferber, and Ludwig Louisson, German Jews; Jacob Riis, Dane; Louis Adamic, Yugoslav. Our leading poets include Longfellow, Lowell, and Whittier, English; Edgar A. Poe, Scotch-Irish-English; Walt Whitman, English-Netherlander; Sidney Lanier, French; Eugene Field, English; Robert Frost, Scotch-English; Edwin Markham, English; James W. Riley, Netherlander-English; Carl Sandburg, Swede; Edna St. Vincent Millay, English-French; Joaquin Miller and Joyce Kilmer, Germans; Louis Untermeyer, German Jew; and Arthur Gutermann, Austrian Jew; Christopher Morley, Irish; Phyllis Wheatley and Paul Dunbar, Negroes. Pioneer heroism immortalized by O. E. Rolveg, Norwegian. Good literature circulated in humble homes by P. F. Collier, Irish. Historian, writer, and lecturer William Hendrik van Loon, Netherlander. Music. Father of our orchestras and founder of Handel and Haydn Society was Gottlieb Graupner, German. First organ builder and maker of spinets was Gustav Hesselius, Swede. Our first important composer was Ernst Bloch, Swiss Jew. Carry Me Back to Old Virginny, composed by James Bland, Negro. Johnny Comes Marching Home, composed by Patrick Gilmore, Irish. Old Folks at Home, by Stephen Foster, Scotch-Irish. An Italian, Campanini, was first director and leader of Metropolitan. Gatti Cassessa, Italian, famous director of Metropolitan. Organizer of Flanzeli Quartet was Alfred Ponchon, Swiss. Famous composers include Victor Herbert, Irish; Edward MacDowell, Scot; John Philip Sousa, Portuguese; Percy Grainger, Australian; Eugene Goossens, English; Howard Hanson, Swede; William Grant Still, Negro; Daniel Prothero, Welsh; Sigmund Rumberg, German Jew; George Gershwin and Irving Berlin, Russian Jews; Alma Gluck, Romanian; Rudolf Frimmel, Czech. Outstanding conductors include Gabrilovich, Russian Jew; Walter and Klemperer, German; Kusewicki and Smolens, Russian Jews, Stokowski, Polish, Ormany and Rappi, Hungarians, Gantz, Swiss, Koshets, Ukrainian, Zelati, Russian, Bush, Dane, Kindler, Netherlander, Damrosch, German, Radzinski, Yugoslav, Victor Kolar, Czech. Leading violin players of worldwide fame are Elman, Heifetz, Cymbalist, Russian Jews, and Yehudi Menuhin, Romanian Jew. Essay, Belgian, Devank, Czech, Pridakovich, Ukrainian. Famous pianists include Rachmaninoff, Russian, Iturbi, Spaniard, Honti, Hungarian. Leading flutist is Kalamahos, Greek. Noted xylophonist is Y. Hiraoka, Japanese. Among the great concert artists are Sophie Breslau, Russian Jew, Lottie Lehmann, German, Rosa Reza, Italian Jew, Schumann Heink, Austrian, John Charles Thomas, Welsh, and Paul Robeson, Jules Bledsoe, Marian Anderson, Roland Hayes, Negroes. Art. Father of American painting was Benjamin West, English. Portraits of Washington, Adams, Jefferson, and Madison by Charles Gilbert Stuart, Scott. Washington Crossing the Delaware by Emmanuel Lutze, German. Famous portraits by John Copley, Irish. Famous etchings by Joseph Pennell, English-Irish. Artist's Mother by James McNeill Whistler, Scotch-Irish. Swing Low, Sweet Chariot by Malvin Johnson, Negro. Return of Prodigal Son by Henry Mosler, German Jew. Gassed, and portraits by John S. Sargent, English-Italian. Autumn Oaks by George Innes, Scott. Conquerors, Building of Panama Canal by Joseph Lai, Norwegian. Resurrection of Lazarus by Henry O. Tanner, Negro. Still Life by Yasu Kuniyoshi, Japanese. First modernist in America was Arthur Davies, Welsh. Corrupt tweed ring in New York City smashed by cartoons of Thomas Nast, German. Leader in landscape painting, Frederick Detwiller, Swiss. Master of miniatures, Malfi Hathelrius, Dane. Famous frescoes in National Capitol by Brumidi, Italian. Illustrator of folk tales and fairy stories, Willy Pogany, Hungarian. Journalistic cartoons by Harrison Fisher, Czech. Sculpture. Puritan, Shaw Memorial and other statues by Saint-Gardin, Irish-French. Memory and Lincoln statues by Daniel Chester French, English. Work on Stone Mountain, Georgia, and Mount Rushmore, South Dakota by Gutson Borglum, Dane. Pioneer Mother at Kansas City by Femester Proctor, Canadian. The Sower on the Nebraska State Capitol by Lee Lawrie, German. Statues of Indians by Ivan Mestrovich, Yugoslav. McKinley Monument by Haig Patigian, Armenian. Italian sculptors who helped adorn National Capitol were Franzoni, bronze clock with statue of Storia on top, Valperti, emblematic eagle, Amateus, bronze doors, Causici, statue of Liberty proclaiming peace, Trentanova, Pere Marquette statue, Vincente, Indian chief, Bishiki. Architecture. Skyscraper developed by Louis Henry Sullivan, Irish-French, German. Fanoia Hall, Boston, designed by John Smilbert, Scott. Vieux Carré, New Orleans, laid out by Adrien de Pouget, French. Foremost architect in stone was Henry Richardson, English. Frank Lloyd Wright, Welsh, harmonized buildings with surroundings. St. Patrick's Cathedral, New York City, built by Josef Sivak, a Czech. Prominent naval architect is William Hofgaard, Dane. City planning by Eliel Saarinen, Finn. Bertram Goodhue, Scott English, developed and refined Gothic in public buildings. Folger Library and Pan American Building in Washington by Paul Kret, Belgian. Banks and office buildings by Stephen Voorhees, Netherlander. Church architecture by Ralph Cram, German, and Charles McGuinness, Irish. Motion pictures. Outstanding motion picture stars: Antonio Moreno, Spaniard; Luis Rainier, Austrian; Charles Laughton and Ronald Colman, English; Francis Lederer, Czech; Jean Hersholt, Dane; Pola Negri, Pole; Anna Sten, Ukrainian; Laura LaPlante, Yugoslav. Leading producers: Meyer, Lasky, Warner, Russian Jews, and Goldwyn, Polish Jew. Pioneers of industry were D.W. Griffith, Welsh; Zucker and Fox, Hungarian Jews; and Lowe, German Jew. Technique of cinematography modernized by Vorkapek, Yugoslav. Theatre. Pioneer of modern American theatre, Augustin Daly, Irish. Geniuses of the theatre include Belasco, Portuguese Jew; Vromans, Schuberts, Selwyn, Warfield, Hammerstein, German Jews; and Nazimova, Russian Jew. John Drew, Irish; Richard Mansfield, Julia Marlowe, and Barrymores, English; Paul Robeson, Negro; The Magician, Houdini, Hungarian. Journalism. New York Weekly Journal founded by Peter Zenger, German, in 1733. New York Tribune founded by Horace Greeley, Scotch-Irish. Publisher of St. Louis Post-Dispatch and New York World was Joseph Pulitzer, Hungarian Jew. First great newspaper syndicate established by S.S. McClure, Irish. Magazine famous as a militant muckraker founded by P.F. Collier, Irish. First modern newspaper, the New York Morning Herald, founded in 1835 by James G. Bennett, Scott. New York Times founded by Henry Raymond, Scott, and George Jones, Welsh. Chain of newspapers founded by James Scripps, English. Chain of newspapers founded by William Randolph Hearst, Scotch-English. Editor of a ladies' magazine, Edward Buck, Netherlander. Section 12. Our Gifts to Social Progress and Government. Declaration of Independence, written by Thomas Jefferson, Welsh. Signed by 1 Swede, 3 Irish, 4 Scots, 5 Welsh, 5 Scotch-Irish, 38 English, with John Morton, Swede, casting deciding ballot. The 13 colonies were christened the United States of America by Thomas Paine, English. Social welfare. Our first social reformer was Robert Owen, Welsh. First one to make use of music in social work was William van der Waal, Netherlander. Founder of Red Cross, Clara Barton, English. Founder of Chicago's famous Hull House was Jane Addams, English. Slums attacked by Jacob Riis, Dane, in How Other Half Lives. Welfare Library on Ellis Island organized by Reverend John Queeton, Latvian. Anti-saloonist and feminist Carrie Chapman Catt, English, German. Atlanta School of Social Work, directed by Forrester Washington, Negro. Lillian Wald, German Jew, a social welfare leader. Famous Home for Boys, Father Flanagan, Irish. Government and Politics. 2/3 of our presidents, including Washington, are of English descent. Martin Van Buren and Herbert Hoover, German. Theodore Roosevelt and Franklin Roosevelt, Netherlanders. Jefferson, Madison, John Adams, John Q. Adams, Harrison and Garfield, Welsh. Monroe, Hayes, Grant, Wilson, and McKinley, Scots. Among our leading statesmen were Hamilton, Calhoun, Webster, Jefferson Davis, Scotch-Welsh. James Blaine, Chauncey Depew, Stephen Douglas, mainly Scots. Patrick Henry, Scot-English-Welsh. Leading civil service and tariff reformer was Carl Schurz, German. Iron puddler who became Secretary of Labor, James J. Davis, Welsh. First governors: of Delaware, John McKinley; Georgia, John Houston; Illinois, John Boyle; Kansas, James Denver; Louisiana, William Claiborne; all Irish or Scotch-Irish. Present governor of New York, H. H. Lehman, German Jew; of Illinois, Henry Horner, German Jew. First governor-general of Florida, Bouquet, Swiss. First president of the Republic of Texas, Sam Houston, Scot. Tammany Society, founded in 1789 by William Mooney, Irish, as protest against attempt of wealthy Tories to prevent soldiers and others from voting. First Secretary of Treasury under Jefferson, responsible for arranging Louisiana Purchase, was Albert Gallatin, Swiss. First to fight for conservation of our forests was Carl Schurz, German. Philanthropy. Astor Library, now part of New York Library, founded by John Jacob Astor, German, in 1848. 4,000 Negro schools founded by Julius Rosenwald, German Jew. Chautauqua movement begun by Lewis Miller, German. Gifts during Panic of the 90s, penny meals during World War, food ships to Palestine, and milk fun by Nathan Strauss, Austrian Jew. $42 million gift to General Education Board by John D. Rockefeller, German. Libraries founded throughout United States by Andrew Carnegie, Scot. Funds raised to bring Statue of Liberty from France by Joseph Pulitzer, Hungarian Jew. Appreciation of arts and literature stimulated by Edward Bach, Netherlander. Boy Scouts of America helped by Jacob and Mortimer Schiff, German Jews. $6 million to Princeton University by H. C. Frick, German. Colgate University founded by William Colgate, English. $122,000 to Fisk University by James Burris, Negro. Foundations for Opportunities to Study Abroad and to Promote Well-Being of Mankind, established by Simon and Daniel Guggenheim, Swiss Jews. Champions of Human Liberty. Protest Against Slavery by Pastorius, German. Author of Common Sense, The Crisis, and Public Good was Thomas Paine, English. Powerful leaders against slavery were John Russwurm, Benjamin Banneker, David Walker, Harriet Tubman, William Brown, William Still, Samuel Ward, Frederick Douglass, Negroes. Peter Zenger, German, defended by Andrew Hamilton, Scot, registered great triumph for freedom of press when he won his fight against Governor Crosby of New York. National Defense. Minutemen roused by Paul Revere, Huguenot. Drillmaster of Continental armies, who helped to plan West Point, was Frederick von Steuben, German. $600,000 advanced to Congress and subsidies negotiated from France and the Netherlands by Chaim Solomon, Polish Jew. Father of American cavalry was General Casimir Pulaski, Pole. First to lose life in Revolutionary War was Crispus Attucks, Negro. First Commodore of Navy was John Barry, Irish. Naval hero John Paul Jones, Scot. $5 million contributed toward War of 1812 by Stephen Girard, French. famous privateer who abolished corporal punishment in the Navy was Uriah Levy, Jew. British defeated on Lake Erie by Captain Perry, Scotch-Irish. Labor. First president of American Federation of Labor who improved living standards of workers was Samuel Gompers, English Jew. Leader of CIO, John L. Lewis, Welsh. Organizer of coal miners, John Mitchell, Welsh. President of AF of L, William Green, English Welsh. Leader of Amalgamated Clothing Workers, Sidney Hillman, Lithuanian Jew. Religious work. Participating in Washington's inaugural was Rabbi Seixas, Portuguese Jew. One of our greatest clergymen, Jonathan Edwards, Welsh. Leader in welfare and religious work, Huey Kin, Chinese. First Protestant missionary to West Indies was George Leal, former Negro slave. Professor of theology at Hartford Seminary, N.Y. Anigian, Armenian. Authority on early church history is Professor Laplana, Albanian. Education. First book on pedagogy published in 1770 by Christopher Duck, German. Harvard University named after John Harvard, English. Yale University by Elihu Yale, Welsh. William and Mary by James Blair, Scott. Brown University by Morgan Edwards and Samuel Jones, Welsh. New York University by Gallatin, Swiss. Tuskegee Institute by Booker Washington, Negro, world-famed educator. Williams College by Ephraim Williams, Welsh. One of incorporators of Columbia University was Rabbi Seixas, Portuguese Jew. Hunter College by Thomas Hunter, Irish. Creighton University, Omaha by Creighton Brothers, Irish. Princeton University founded by Scottish Presbyterians. Barnard College founded by Annie Nathan Meyer, German Jew. Infant school introduced in 1816 by Robert Owen, Welsh. First German kindergarten introduced in Wisconsin in 1855 by wife of Carl Schurz, German. A primer, first book produced in Pennsylvania, written by Franz Pastorius, German, headmaster of First School in Germantown. College of Journalism at Columbia University, founded by Joseph Pulitzer, Hungarian Jew. School of Mines, founded by Adolf Lewison, German Jew. First English kindergarten founded in Boston in 1860 by Elizabeth Peabody, English. Father of modern American education was Horace Mann, English. World-famous Orientalist P.K. Hitti, Syrian. One of foremost educators was Henry Suzzallo, Yugoslav. Angelo Patri, Italian, counsels parents and children. One of our greatest economists was Thorstein Veblen, Norwegian. Law and Order. First Chief Justice of Supreme Court was John Jay, French. Present Chief Justice Charles Evan Hughes, Welsh. One of the foremost authorities on international law is Stephen Lattis, Greek. Finns work the iron ore fields of northern Minnesota. Netherlanders and Poles developed woodworking trades of Michigan. Italians, Portuguese, Greeks, and Swiss have built up the grape and wine industry of California. Greek candy makers. Mexicans and Japanese in beet fields of Colorado, Nebraska, and California. Italians, Poles, and Slavs in meatpacking, textile, and building industries.